Hey, welcome back to The Dive. Today on the show, we're chatting with Gianni Kovacevic from Copperbank Resources. But before we get into it, I'm just going to remind you about that subscribe button below. Just give it a quick tap. Hey, Gianni, welcome to The Dive.
Glad to be with you for the first time. Have some fun.
All right, so let's start with your background. How did you get into copper, and what excites you about the metal?
I'm Croatian, and we were fascinated, my brother and I, by the Serbian, born in Croatia, Nikola Tesla, the man who invented modern day electricity, and we still use it to this very day. So we took electrical studies, and what is electrification? It's fortified by copper. So a few things came together. I was born in Vancouver, which is a world capital of natural resources, born at the right time when all this deregulation was happening in telecommunications and electronics. And we got involved in this trade and we realized, hey, the future of China and now the future of energy is going to be copper. So they all link together.
So where do you see the majority of copper demand coming from over the next decade? Will there be any new drivers of demand?
All roads go through copper. The current of the global economy, especially this recovery, there's over $10 trillion of stimulus money that they've created by clicking computer keys, but most of that's going to go into modern infrastructure. Already today, before this even gets underway, 75% of all the copper that's consumed in the world goes into something to generate, transfer, or utilize electrical energy. But if you look at energy is a big macro thing, it's fossil fuels led by oil. Today, electrification is 20% of final energy usage. In the next 30 years, it's going to be 50%. You can't even tabulate how much electric metals, not just copper, but all the electric metals is going to be required to enable this. I don't lose any sleep at night about the demand of copper. It's all paths go through copper.
Okay, so what can you tell us about the supply side? For our audience new to copper, where is most of the world's copper produced and who produces it?
Remember in the 70s how we used to worry about Middle East oil and we had the oil crisis? Wait till they find out that 50% of primary copper comes from two countries, Chile and Peru. Copper is not like the oil and gas industry. First of all, we have not reinvented the wheel like they have in oil and gas. Horizontal fracking, 3D seismic to find new reserves, and oil is produced in dozens and dozens of countries, led by Saudi Arabia, Russia, America, which has had a renaissance. That's not the case with copper. We spent hundreds of billions of dollars looking for new sources of copper in the China super cycle. We did not have a lot of success. The fact is, the future of copper mining is going to occur in lower and lower grade concentrate. It's now going to be 0.5% copper concentrate, and it's going to happen at high elevation, places like Peru and Chile, or it's going to happen in countries where you're going to require AK-47 type protection, or they're going to have to go to historical mining camps. And the best in the world is the copper corridor in Arizona. And that's where Copperbank's focus has always been, Nevada and Arizona.
So as CEO of Copperbank Resources, what can you tell us about the company?
Well, I can tell you that mining is ruinously expensive. And I've been through 4 cycles. So we're investors. So let's be clear. What do we treat Copperbank with respect to natural resources? It's a real estate play. When the market went through a down cycle, we purposefully built Copperbank to acquire high quality projects that are well situated. And here's the magic word. They had to have had a fortune already spent on them. They had to be de-risked to a point. From discovery hole until the decision to actually build a mine, it now takes 20 years. So if you will, our projects are at year 15. And to give people context, there was over $120 million US is what it would take to duplicate all the work that's already occurred on our portfolio. So if you look at the valuation, our market cap is about 45 million Canadian, right? So about 35 million US dollars. It would take 120 million to duplicate the work that's already occurred on the portfolio. And because we acquired a bunch of companies that were already stock listed, the last time copper was $4 a pound, the market cap would be around $300 million for the stuff that we own today. So there's a bit of a disconnect. We got copper at an all-time high, and not just Copperbank, but some of these juniors, they haven't really performed like they did the last go around. There's a disconnect. I believe there's going to be some catch up, and it's going to be, in my view, institutional money that's coming in to really move the dial.
What can you tell us about the cost advantages to heap leaching for production?
Well, it's a power of magnitude cheaper. So if you can imagine, there's two ways to mine copper. Okay, mining, it's one thing. You take the rock, they blast it, and then for typically most of the world's production, you grind it really fine to a consistency of sand or like a coarse flour. Goes through a process called flotation, and you boost the grade from 0.5% to about 30% into a sand product, and that's what's shipped to a place, to a smelter, typically in India, China, South Korea, Japan. Leach copper is a little different because what you do is you directly, the rock is blasted and then it's heaped in big piles and then right on location, and then a sulfuric acid is poured over those rocks for years and years and years, and it slowly leaches the copper from the rocks. And then that pregnant solution on site goes through what's called electrowinning, and you plate the copper over a period of time. And then you end up with sheets of 99% copper, and they can go to a fabricator right away. You avoid the whole concentrator shipping to India or China, and it goes to someone who can make cable right away with that product. So CapEx is usually about a quarter of what it would be for one of these big sulfide mines. OpEx is also much lower, and most importantly, it doesn't have to go through that concentrating process. So Copperbank owns one such project. We got one of each, big sulfide project, and we got a big leach copper project.
Very cool. Okay, so for investors of Copperbank following the story, what are some of the near-term catalysts or timelines to be watching for?
We've been waiting very patiently to move our portfolio forward. So within our criteria, another benefit that we have with our portfolio is we own it on a 100% basis. We have a very low holding cost, but the fatal flaw was a low copper price. When the copper price was low, our projects were not economic. We're okay with that because 75% of the world's development projects are not economic at sub 350 a pound copper. We're in that pile, like most of them. Now that copper has actually surpassed $3.50 a pound, it's at 4.5. All we need is 3.5 for our business plan to work. But we're looking at answering some very important unanswered questions. So as what I told you before, mining is ruinously expensive. That money's already been spent, the 120, 130 million. So we're looking at, on two different projects, to spend a few $1 million to answer these very important unanswered questions. And we believe that we'll be able to unlock a lot of value by showing the market and ultimately larger companies that the projects are larger in size, higher in quality, and we're also going to go through what's called an optimization on historical economic studies. This is important because we can realize all this not by spending 10 or $20 million, but by spending a few $1 million. We will then present that data to the market, to larger companies, and I believe we'll be able to unlock a lot of value and start capturing the difference between the previous market cap highs from the 2011 period to where we are now, which is about a 7 or 8x differential in market cap.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me. And hopefully your audience, it may not be mining engineers, but if they're interested, they can follow Copperbank on our website. And I wrote a best-selling book published in 2016. It's been read by the who's who of our industry and a lot of technology people. My Electrician Drives a Porsche. They can find it on Amazon, on Audible, in German, and you'll enjoy it. It's like having a 5-hour dinner with me, and it'll explain a lot of these themes in a storytelling type of format.
Great. I'll have to check it out. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.